Hare Krishna. Bienvenue, Swagatam.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Encore désolé pour ce. You had to wait. Huh? Sorry, I was starting to speak French. You had to wait because of me. I feel bad. I guess last time Chandrasekhar taught, was it the case already? When he taught last time, was it already the change of time?
Yeah.
Okay, then you have no excuse. Because today is bad. You forgot, you just forgot, right? You forgot about it.
Yeah, we forgot about it.
Okay, so, okay. Anyway, this kind of things, you know, it's crazy actually to change the time, if you ask me. It's pretty crazy. In France only they do that, you know. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Agyanti Mirandasya Gyananjala Sharakaya. Shakshu Militam Yena Tashmai Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale. Swayam Rupam Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam. Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Sha Shri Rupa Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Samjiva Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Shritanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Shidam Cha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchane Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshvari Shabanu Sute Devi Panamami Hari Priye Vam Sakalpatarubhya Sakripa Sindhudevacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shivasadi Gaur Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Okay, so anyone would like to venture to recap the second chapter from the start? We just moved into it, so it's not so difficult. What happened in that second chapter?
So second chapter is all about Krishna responding to some of Arjuna's arguments
Yes.
for not wanting to fight.
Yes, very good. Okay. Vignesh, would you like to add up to that?
Yes, after the arguments that Arjuna had raised, then Krishna is now talking about eternality of the soul. The Atma Gyan is giving some spiritual knowledge to him. And accordingly is trying to counter all these doubts and arguments that is presented till now. So, and gradually he'll be moving to different types of yoga systems.
Okay, good. Sorel, you have anything left to say?
No.
Well, you can add up one thing. I can think of one thing. They pretty much covered everything, but you can talk about, you guys enter very slightly into that next subsection after Atma Gyan.
The Karma Kanda section.
Yeah, very good. Very good. You can tell us a little bit about it.
So the Karma Kanda section is about how Krishna is going to start to try to reach Arjuna on the more like mundane human platform, like trying to get him to out of one of the doubts, the enjoyment doubt.
Okay. And what is he going to, what kind of ways and means is he going to resort to induce Arjuna to act on that like you say very rightly, it's a bit more mundane than what we discussed before, obviously. So to what section of the Vedas is he going to refer? Kamakand, okay. How does it translate for Arjuna on the battlefield? I mean, he's poised on the battlefield. He's about to start. He's supposed to start fighting. So how does it translate in plain and simple words for him? Kamakand.
Jacob, help me.
Sorry?
I was saying, Jacob, help me.
Well, remember, he's about to start fighting. He's pulling out. So Lord Krishna, obviously, just read the verses. It's right there from 30 onwards, 31.
Yeah.
It's going to induce, it's going to try to appeal to Arjuna to act on which platform? In terms of duties, huh? In terms of duties, huh? Duties. So basically, of course, perhaps to just go back to what Jacob was saying, in the second chapter, the last doubt is brought up by Arjuna himself, which is indecision. Remember, very beginning of the second chapter, we can see, even though he wants to fight, even though, yes, 2:7, Shishastiham Shadimam Twam Prapanam, I'm your disciple, please instruct me. Then 2:9, he drops the Gandiva bow. So he's quite confused, he's indecisive. So this Atma Gyan section, Atma Tattva, the eternality of the soul, what does it defeat in terms of arguments, Arjuna's arguments? Which one does it defeat? You know, you discussed from 10 to 30, let's say.
Would it be the argument for compassion for his,
yes.
enemies?
Yes. Why is that?
Well, because one of Arjuna's arguments is that he doesn't want to fight because, you know, he doesn't want to kill his family members and teachers, and
Yes.
so his compassion is misplaced. And Krishna explains to him that actually the soul is eternal, and that he wouldn't really be killing anyone.
Excellent. Yeah, you're right. So it's going to defeat basically the argument of compassion. So by knowledge of the soul, obviously. So now from 230, 231st, I would say, it takes a different approach. And even if Arjuna identifies with his body, which is apparently the case, just for the sake of the narration, of course, remember, it's Yogamaya. Arjuna is a Vishnu Parikar. So no way, technically, it can be in Mahamaya. It's in Yogamaya. Yogamaya means Rishikesh. Rishikena Rishikesha Sivanam Bhaktiruchati. Rishikesh, Krishna has taken over his senses. So he's putting him temporarily in illusion, 45 minutes or so that Gita can be imparted. So Arjuna identifies with his body, apparently, and Krishna is going to put forward that if you fight as a Kshatriya, then you'll be happy. And for that matter, is going to refer to Kamakand section of the Vedas. So basically, these teachings is primarily to defeat which argument of Arjuna is trying to defeat now?
Enjoyment.
Enjoyment. Very good. Yeah. Why? Because in essence, what is the rationale behind it? Because if he
because
fights,
actually he wouldn't enjoy actually if he were to not fight. But Arjuna is confused about that at the moment. He doesn't realize that his true enjoyment is going to come from fighting.
Yeah. If he wins, then he will enjoy, obviously. And if he doesn't fight, then it's going to incur sinful reaction. And by the way, it also addresses the other argument on pap, sin. And he's going to meet with sinful reaction if he doesn't fight, and infamy, by the way, we're going to discuss. So again, compassion is there, fear of sinful reactions is there. And at the end, 32 onwards, is going to tell us that by fighting, by fighting, you win. It's a win-win. Because, and even if you lose, you die, then you go to heaven. So it's a win-win. On the other hand, if you don't fight, then it's sinful. Okay. So I was told 34, is that correct?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So let's, these are very important verses. Okay, Vignesh, you can read out 34, please.
Yes, please. 2.34.
Yeah.
People will always speak of your infamy, and for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death.
Yeah. So that was one of my questions, by the way. How could infamy, since fame apparently is material, it's apparently at first degree it's material, how could infamy be unwanted?
Because as a Kshatriya, he doesn't want to be seen as a coward. People won't take him seriously if he's failing to do his dharma, his duty. And then also he'd be choosing to save himself over listening to Krishna. So it's like embarrassing.
Extremely embarrassing. Remember, Arjun is a Maharati, so they won't buy it. Arjun, Karn, and all these fellows, they will not, Jayadrat, they won't buy that Arjun just pulled out of compassion. That's for sissies, They will ridicule him and pass him as a coward. Fatu in Hindi we say. Fatu means coward. So yeah, it's definitely not wanted. So let's see the Sanskrit here. So yeah, Krishna's story is very, very strong here. And it's very, very strong. It's a big dishonor. Akirtim chapi bhutani. People are going to speak about you. Your repute will go to hell. And even though you have performed great tasks, by now Arjuna is a worldwide known warrior. Remember, he's half demigod. His father was in the devil. So his repute will go to hell. People in Kali Yuga, you know what it is like. And they look at you have a little stain on your white sheet, then they see only the stain. Isn't it? They don't see the good things. Your good things will go to waste. Okay, so that's quite straightforward. Then 35. You can just move on. It's quite straightforward here.
Yeah. 2.35. The great generals who have highly esteemed your name and fame will think that you have left the battlefield out of fear only, and thus they will consider you insignificant.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we could surmise that Baladev Vibhushan brings that point forward. In 18th century, he was a great devotee. We could surmise that Arjuna said, well, I don't care about infamy, But this argument is hypothetical because, he doesn't have such fear. And the outcome of the battle, we don't know whether it's going to live or die. It's uncertain. So even though Manu is Manvanta avatar, he recommends that we should, as far as possible, we should try not to engage in war. That's the case when Manu preaches to Dhruv Maharaj, actually. But no, Krishna doesn't agree. Krishna doesn't agree with that preaching of Manu. And he's saying, Atirichyate, death is worse. Atirichyate is in 35. Death is worse than. It's preferable, to infamy. Sambhavitasya. So it reminds me, you may know Vignesh because you are from India, but the story of Yashomanta Sen. He was the commander-in-chief of Aurangzeb. You know the story?
I heard of his name, but not the story.
So about 300 years ago, Aurangzeb was extremely cruel Mughal emperor. He was extremely tyrannical and killed many Brahmins. He desecrated lots of temples. So his commander-in-chief was called Yashomanta Sen. So in one fight, he got defeated and he went back home. So then his wife, obviously, she heard, oh, my husband came back. He's been defeated. He's coming back home. So she asked the caretaker, you close the door of the palace. So Yashomanta Sen came there and he asked the doorman, please let me in. So then the doorman told the queen, he's here. Why have you closed the door? Because husband is here. She said, no way. I don't believe he's here. Because he's a kind of man that either it wins or it dies in the battle. That's the spirit of Kshatriya, Even the queen knew my husband cannot afford to come back, especially if he has been defeated. He will only come back if he has won over. That's a very strong Kshatriya spirit.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of old world cultures had that kind of aspect to it. There's a movie called 300 about the Spartan warriors of ancient Greece, and there's this thing that they say come back on your shield or with your shield or on it. It's kind of meaning like if you don't die fighting, then don't come back.
Yeah, exactly. It was the same in France. I mean, France was 1500 years of monarchy with the Bourbons, line age. Same story, Middle Age, and there's no question of coming back home. The insult is worse than death. They know it. They won't even appear. They just disappear from sight.
Yeah, because it would mean that they're not doing their duty to society.
Yeah. And they cannot bear the blame. It's such a dishonor. It's such a disgrace forever.
Right.
Okay, so let's where are we? Okay. So basically 37, I don't know where we are, but I'm a little lost, but doesn't matter. It's all the same anyway. 37, if we are killed on the battlefield, then we will attain heavens. What's the big deal, Arjun? So you conquer, enjoy the earthly kingdom. So it's just preaching to him on that angle, Apparently he went back a little back down, but like Vignesh very nicely put. You can perhaps share that, Vignesh. I really liked your point. You can read out.
Which question, Prabhu?
Let me find it for you.
Is it for the questions 38, 39?
Yeah, we haven't got there. Well, but we are still 36, 37. Yeah, you're saying, Vignesh, it's wonderful. Huh? This is especially true for the nobilities of these times. Such people often had a lot of power for which they might not be held accountable easily or immediately. What deterred them from abuse of power was their sense of honor and the concomitant fear of being dishonored. It's very well put, Vignesh. Krishna, who is very expert in such play of words, is thus employing this tactic to incite Arjuna to fight. So that's very well put. Exactly. And then you explain. We see the overall sections and subsequent chapters of the Gita. We will understand that Krishna is currently only making a segue to gradually build from particulars to essential spiritual principles. Yeah. This section is very short, 31 to 38. Then we move into the bar goes way back up, moving from Kamakam, Sakam Kama Yoga, and then full on Nishkam Kama Yoga, even Buddhi Yoga. So we're going to discuss about that. So let's move on. We are 37. We did 37. 38, yes, the shift is there. You can read out 38.
Do thou fight for the sake of fighting, without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat, and by so doing, you shall never incur sin.
Yeah. So this is a very important section. 38, 39, these are key verses. There's a major shift here. Okay, so I think I asked you for a question on that.
Yeah.
Yes, tell me about the shift, because it's very important here. There's a flow, there's a break in the flow of the philosophy, basically. 38, 39. Perhaps you can read out 39 because it goes together.
Thus far, I have described this knowledge to you through analytical study. Now listen as I explain it in terms of working without fruitive results. O son of Pritha, when you act in such knowledge, you can free yourself from the bondage of works.
Wonderful. So you please explain, all of you, what is this? Okay, we're coming to the end of Karma Kand. Krishna is a very short section, just to incite him to anger, to arise his anger. Now again, he's shifting. Now this is conversation. Remember, it's a 45-minute conversation between two persons, two friends. One happened to be God. And so it's like, you're speaking to someone and you shift in your conversation, isn't it? You shift. So he's trying in his mind, Krishna is trying to incite him to fight, because everyone is poised for war. It's about to start. And he's counting on him, remember? He's counting on, he has assembled all the rascals, all the dacoits, all the gundas have been assembled in one place. Basically, Duryodhana has become the recruiter of Lord Krishna. Instead of killing here and there, Duryodhana was very keen on bringing in his friends to help him out in this battle of contest of war. So now Krishna is, yes, in one go we can get rid of them. Vinashaya Dushkritam, that's one of the purpose. It's counting on Arjuna for that matter. Okay, so what's the flow here? What's the shift, I would say? You wrote it, huh? You already made a good job, so you just read your notes, basically.
The yoga begins from this point of Bhagavad Gita, I suppose, because till now what Krishna spoke is about the analytical aspect. Most of the things to counter the arguments, I would say kind of a speculation, but then the actual yoga of the Bhagavad Gita starts from this point, like Buddhi Yoga and other aspects of Karma Yoga. It's more now spiritual, I would say, shifting towards the transcendental aspect of the entire theme of the Bhagavad Gita.
Yes. Well, we should not belittle the previous sections, like Atma Gyan is fundamental. We discussed Atma Tattva, eternality of the soul. So that's very important. But see what happened, the Adhikar, I think I gave you a question on that. Adhikar is not on that level yet, according to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Arjuna, in that particular episode of Yoga Maya. Remember, it's Yoga Maya here. It doesn't have the Adhikar of acting on Atma Gyan. But this is his Adhikar now coming up, which is Nishkam Kama Yoga or Bhakti Yoga, or Buddhi Yoga to be more precise, which is the same basically. So what does it mean? It's a combination of two things. Krishna wants him to understand, yes, I told you, Arjuna, for 20 verses, you're not the body. So that's knowledge of the soul, Atma Gyan. But he wants him to combine two yoga together. What is it?
Buddhi Yoga and Bhakti Yoga?
Well, it's the same. These are synonyms.
Okay.
He wants him to combine two things. That knowledge that he got from Atma Gyan, we're not the body, okay? Plus, what's the other component of the equation? It's an equation. A plus B equals something. A is Atma Gyan, okay? Atma Tattva, we're not the body. He pummeled that point home for 20 verses. Arjuna is not ready for that, okay? So now he's moving Arjuna towards what he wants him to act upon, is Adhikar. So Atma Gyan is A plus B. What is B?
Do your duty without regard for the results.
Excellent, which is called in Sanskrit?
Karma Yoga.
Yeah, to be more precise, Nishkam Karma Yoga. There's Sakam Karma Yoga. What is Sakam? Sakam means you are attached to the fruits and you are attached to the activity. Nishkam means you're no more attached to the fruits, but you still need to be attached to the activities. The epitome of that will be 927. Yat Kaloshi, Yadashnashi, Yadjoshi Dadasi Yat. Whatever you do, whatever you offer, whatever you eat, Arjun, do it as a Madhapanam, as an offering to me. So now we're talking about a major shift. He wants him to act on the platform of Buddhi Yoga or Nishkam Karma Yoga, Atmagyan plus Nishkam Karma Yoga. Basically means Krishna consciousness. But in no way does he want him to pull out. Inaction is the worst thing ever. That is why the hippies, that was a fiasco because they rejected action. Okay, apparently they didn't want to follow the establishment of their parents. But in the name of rejecting, they ended up worse as they were before, isn't it? Because they don't have a clue that the solution is carry on acting, but on the transcendental level, at least midway on the transcendental level, at least offer the fruits to Krishna. So they didn't have they didn't have the second part of the equation. It was a fiasco. They ended up into like junkies. So this is basically one of the main discrimination of the Gita. I would say the most important discrimination of the Gita is here. Prabhupada said, even Buddhajan Prabhu, my Shastra Guru, used to say, this is the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita. Right here. So let's discuss in detail about 39. It's a very important verse. So basically, in essence, sin will come from fighting in ignorance, Arjun. If you fight in ignorance, it's sin. But if you fight in knowledge, it's not sin. You follow? Because now he has been endowed with Atma Gyan. They are not their bodies, you're not your body. Krishna can say, I'm my body. He's the only one who can say that. Krishna is his body. Everyone else is not his body. Bhishma is not his body. Duryodhana is not his body. Arjun is not his body. So Arjun, yes, you're right. If you fight in avidya, in ignorance, that's sin. But if you find in knowledge of Atma Gyan, on top of that, if you do it because it's your duty, where's the sin? There's no sin at all. On the contrary, if you pull out, that's sinful. But now it's bringing up that particular tattva higher. It's bringing the discussion to a higher plane. And listen to what he says in 39. It's quite edifying. Thus far, means thus far, up to now, have described this knowledge to you through analytical study. What is it called in Sanskrit? Analytical study?
Sankhya.
And there was one question to you. I don't want you to become entangled in these different terms of Sankhya. Sankhya can mean many things. Sankhya means to enumerate, to count. One type of Sankhya is where in the Bhagavatam?
In the Bhagavatam is when Lord Kapila Dev, who's an avatar of Vishnu, explains Sankhya philosophy to his mother Devahuti.
Very good. Which canto?
Second canto?
Third canto. Twice. It's such a complex topic, he's going to explain it twice. But again, this particular Sankhya we are referring here has nothing to do with that Sankhya. What is the other Sankhya, which is quite unwanted, by the way? This is coming from the imposter.
Described by the atheist, right?
Yeah, there's an imposter, such a rascal. He borrowed the name from Kapil. He's calling himself Kapil even. And he's using the whole spectrum of Sankhya, but he's leaving out which Which component of the enumeration is leaving out? The soul and Paramatma. We know that there's 24 elements of the creation. 25th is Atma, 26th is Paramatma. And this rascal Kapil, the imposter, he has left out those two components. So his Sankhya is totally Nastic. It's atheistic. But again, what we are referring here, look at the Sanskrit. Eshate bihita sankhye buddhir yoget vimam shrinu. So in other words, so far I've explained to you things in terms of Sankhya, which is Atmagyan basically. We're not the body, and we have seen how Krishna in details has enumerated and the difference between. But now listen, as I explain it to you, the same thing, by the way, it's not a different topic. I'm going to explain it to you in such a way, Arjun, that by following this new, from a different angle, I'm going to explain the same thing. If you act upon it, then you will get free of sin. So automatically Arjun's ears are going to prick up, because that's all he's concerned about. He doesn't want to get into sin. So now Krishna is telling him, listen, Arjun, I'm going to tell you the same thing, but from a different angle. When you act in such knowledge, you can free yourself from bondage of works. So he wants to grab Arjun's attention. And now he's going to explain to him the path of yoga, Buddha yoga, Nishkam Kama yoga, which is basically the main thrust of the Gita. How do you want people to become free whatsoever if they don't even know how to act? You cannot tell them, please surrender to God. 1866 is way too early. They won't surrender. They don't even know Krishna. So at least you have to explain to them how to act. So this is a major shift here. Do you have any questions? Or is it clear?
Pretty clear.
Okay, good. Okay, so keep in mind on this equation that Nishkam Kama Yoga, we're going to refer to that term very often in this course. Nishkam Kama Yoga is a combination of two things: transcendental knowledge, Atmagyan, plus acting. Acting for the sake of Krishna, or God at least. That's why it's yoga. If it was not with any connection to the absolute, it would be karma. As soon as you hear the sound yoga, means there's some type of connection with the absolute. Whether it be impersonal, personal, God in the heart, doesn't matter. Yoga means there's some connection with the absolute. Like 38 here, 38. So Prabhupada is very clear in 38. We have to do it for the sake of fighting, because he wants. Who is he? Krishna wants the battle. So it's a major shift. Up to 37, yes, do it because you're Kshatriya. That's your duty, by the way. Do it. You can, just like you are sent to war. You have no choice. You're paid for that. That's your career. That's basically up to 37. That is his line of action. You just do it. It's your job. It's your career. But now doing is putting basically in transparency. Is putting between the lines 38. Do it for me. It's very early in the Gita, but do it for the sake of fighting because I want it, Arjun. So it's much in one verse is going way back up. Yeah, it's a very important flow. Is that flow clear for everyone? That break in the flow? Jacob and Vignesh?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, very good.
I do have just one question.
Yes, Prabhu.
I was wondering if you might be able to explain, what if somebody had the argument that, so it seems like the Gita is telling us, if God tells us that we can kill people, just because we want to, or well, rather because God wants us to. So how would you respond to somebody who brings that up as a point?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Obviously, it's a theological question, which is one of our aim or sub-aim of this course. We should be bringing to light in today's world. We should be able to bring to the forefront apparently ancient teachings. Gita was 52 centuries ago. No, we should validate it today and prove to people, even in religious forum. You are invited to some kind of compendium, some kind of some kind of convention. You should be able to bring forward the Vaishnav Siddhant and make it very applicable. I remember one time I was invited to a talk. There were Jews, there were Christians, and Hindus. And luckily I was invited, so I was kind of representing the Hindus. I was wearing dhoti. What was the topic? His love of the nation, love of the country, is it part of love of God? Simple topic. I was well prepared. I knew ahead of time. And my point was no, not at all. And I gave prefuse verses. And I was the only one against. I was the only one to go against the grain, if I may say. And I was the first one to speak like Krishna's arrangement, I guess. So, the guy it was organized by Muslim, actually. I had met a nurse guy. He was a medical guy, and he was a nice Muslim guy. He told me, look, I just, told him I'm also trying to practice spiritual life, and we befriended each other. I said, look, I'll like to invite you to some discussion, So I came, but I could see the others were not happy, because they all say, no, it's part of love of God. If you love your nation, and this is part of love of God. I said, no way. So anyway, I didn't touch on the answers yet. Just so let's Vignesh and Sorel answer first.
On this
Just
part,
imagine you are a fundamentalist. You are a Muslim fundamentalist. That could come forward, and it's very true. It's a very pertinent question, Jacob. How would you tackle that, Vignesh?
Like on which side? Like, are you referring to the side of from our perspective or from their perspective?
No, like Jacob, what he brought forward is, you're saying this section of the Gita tends to accommodate the fact that, yes, we can use killing and fighting for the sake of God. So it's very much appealing for especially those who are warmongers. And I'm just thinking of a fundamentalist, a Muslim fundamentalist. They're about to bomb themselves and perhaps come with a hidden bomb in a shopping mall or something. They can do severe damage, which they have done. I don't know, in UK, in France even. So how would you defeat those persons, dismantle there, because they may be using Gita for the sake of their nonsense,
I think like last time also, I think we touched upon this aspect slightly with Chandra Prabhu. Like, first of all, things were quite different. There was gulf of difference between the war of Mahabharata that was fought 5,000 years ago and current war that is fought, especially, like whatever civil war, or it may be a World War I or II. It was, I would say, it was in a more controlled atmosphere. The war that was fought at that time, the proper rules, the proper code of conduct, which was followed right from the beginning of the war till the end of the war. It was not, no civilians were killed in that particular war.
Exactly.
It was only the people who were fighting for the particular cause. They were fighting within themselves. They're not harming the other common citizens of their country. So that is one thing. I would say that's a controlled war setting zone. But in today's setting, we don't see anything like that. People just come without even informing. They just bomb the things, suicide bombers and all. So they're just doing for some ulterior motive, especially in today's scenario. They don't have any proper code of conduct for fighting the war.
Yes.
And even if you see in recent times, no war has been fought on the basis of Bhagavad Gita, especially in recent times. In fact, the World War I and II, it was fought basically not on the basis of scriptures. It was fought on the basis of some political ideologies. So I think
that's very good point.
People actually don't care to, like, in today's time, to refer to scriptures to fight the war. They just do it for their own ulterior motive.
Does it suit you, Jacob?
Yeah, we did touch on it a little bit last week with Chandra, and I just wanted to hear maybe what you had to say, Madhavendra.
Yeah, I mean, I would concur with Vignesh. You know, those who bomb themselves in a shopping mall, it's involving civilians, which is horrible, which is totally against the very conduct of fighting. Even the Muslim in the days of yore will never do that. So that's that's not even war. It's atrocities. It's like this vaccine. They want to make us believe it's a vaccine. It's a bioweapon. Let's put it this way. You know, I know so many chemists. They told me what's inside it. I mean, it's not a vaccine. You know, it's a bioweapon. So, you know, they put the label, it's a war. It's not a war. If you kill people in a shopping mall, it's awful. It's just killing. It's murders. You're not a fighter yourself, and you kill women and children in a shopping mall. You're going to hell for eons of times. So we have to be very heavy with these people. They want to use the Gita, which is totally transcendental. We have to tell them whoever died on this battlefield, my dear friend, went back at least to Suryalok, if not to Godhead. You know, everyone got promoted much higher, even the enemies, because Krishna was there. How can you compare yourself to Krishna? This was prearranged by Krishna. He came on earth. One of the Vinashaya Shadushkritam, that's one of the reasons, but not the main reason, of course, one of the side reasons. That's enough?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Don't get me going on this one. Okay, so basically here, we should not be attached to Sukh. Sukh means happiness and its cause. We shouldn't be attached to victory and not having dislike or dukh, miseries and its cause. Should be attain a kingdom due to defeat, or being of unchanging heart. Basically, we should engage in fighting. That's the main point. Engage in fighting because it's your duty, and you won't incur sin in killing, because if you have this disposition of desiring liberation while fighting, but on the contrary, if you fight hankering for material results, then you will incur sin. But if you fight on the platform that you are not the body, and you're doing it for the higher purpose, especially my purpose, Arjun 38, because I want it, then it's totally transcendental. Totally transcendental. You follow? Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's move on. Let's see.
Oh, I just have one query.
Yes, Prabhu.
Like in text 28, normally Krishna says, you fight for the sake of fighting.
Yes.
But later on, we'll see Krishna speaks more directly, fight for the sake of, like he normally talks about himself. Right now, he's making a general statement for the sake of fighting. not for the sake of myself. So
yes,
is
you're
it
right.
a distinction like between Bhakti Yoga and Karma Yoga here that is Krishna's making?
Yeah, actually, you're very right. What happened is Prabhupada is always ahead of Krishna. So, see, Srila Prabhupada is ahead of Krishna because he knows Krishna's mind. So if you look at the purport, it's very clear that Srila Prabhupada is ahead of Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna now directly says that Arjuna should fight for the sake of fighting because he, capital H, he desires that battle. There is no consideration of happiness or distress, profit or gain, victory or defeat in the activities of Krishna consciousness. So here, Srila Prabhupada is very personal in the purport. Is ahead of Krishna in one sense. What you're referring to, Vignesh, is 330. In 330, which is exactly as 238 practically, but in 330, look it up, Krishna is more specific. Mayi savani karmani sanyasya datma chetasa nirashir nirmamo buddva yudhyasvaj vigatajvaraha. Is more specific. Mayi means unto me. Surrendering all your works unto me, with full knowledge of me, without desires for profit, with no claims to pietyship, free from lethargy, fight. So basically, this is the same as 238, but it's more specific. It's going to be more specific. Mayi, unto me. This is the first time in the Gita 330 that Krishna is more specific. He wants it. But here, Prabhupada in 38 is already putting words in the mouth of Lord Krishna. You know, that is why sometimes we cannot deny Srila Prabhupada is criticized for that by the academicians, because they don't like it. But
I think it's more compassionate way of explaining the things. People may not read the later sections.
Yeah.
At least whoever is reading that particular page, at least they can get the entire essence.
I just translated Rida Yanan Maharaj a couple of years ago, hired me to translate this book. He has written a Gita study guide, which is wonderful. And his original intent was to exactly translate the Sanskrit into English, of course, but as it is. Because, again, he's trying to address those academicians out there who say, oh, Prabhupada is taking liberty, just like here. It's a very good example. It's a very good example. And he's doing that for their sake. You know, but why? So now let's address the other part. Why Srila Prabhupada is, in one sense, moving ahead of Lord Krishna? He cannot wait even. Why is he doing that? Because people find fault with that. We cannot deny. We cannot deny. Why? Sorel, you didn't speak much. Why Srila Prabhupada is moving ahead? Like here, he's saying, because Krishna desires to fight. He doesn't say in the Sanskrit at all. So why is he doing that?
I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't know.
Okay, Jacob.
I guess it's to prepare us for like what's going to happen, or I'm not too sure. There's obviously reasons. I don't know.
Yeah, Jacob.
Maybe just to give us a more balanced picture of what's going on, and I liked what Vignesh said, you know, about possibly preparing us for possibly explaining the philosophy to those who might not continue reading on.
Very good. That's exactly, I agree with that.
Yeah.
See, Sorel, Srila Prabhupada cannot wait that we become Krishna conscious. Because you have to remember, Gita has been manufactured by Lord Krishna in his conversation. He just came up with it, you know. Do you think he had notes? Oh, I'm going to speak to Arjuna. Let me look at my notes.
No.
It came out of his mind. It came out of God's mind. It's not the first time, by the way. It happens practically every kalpa. So, and of course, the Gita is it's quite widespread. I mean, that's why there's so many angles on vision in the Gita. Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Karma Kand. We just saw a little bit of Karma Kand. Jnana Yoga will be there a little bit, just to tell us not to do it, but a little bit is there. Ashtanga Yoga, 6th chapter, Jnana Yoga. So why is apparently it's all encompassing? Because Lord Krishna's intent is to bring everyone, to bring everyone back home. And at the end of the day, 1866, 1865, 934, Manmana, Mabhavo, Madbhakti, Madmatam Kuru, just surrender unto me. Obviously, the intent, the overall goal is bhakti, to surrender unto me. But like Jacob is saying, not everyone may be off start ready for that. So that is why he's brushing up on different topics. So it can appeal to some of them. And while doing so, he will move them on towards bhakti. You follow? So Lord Krishna is the greatest preacher. If he had addressed only bhakti in that book from first page, it would have been much thinner, the book. So he kind of, he had a very widespread appeal to make sure everyone can be brought in. Even though, like Jacob said, some people may stop on the way, at least they got some good dose of personalisms, that Krishna is God. So Prabhupada doesn't wait. That's his sheer compassion for humanity. He's a pure devotee. He came down on earth for this purpose. Prabhupada came specifically for that. His minimum as Shakti Vaishnava, probably much more than that. Vishnu Parikar. So that is his intent. That is his. So from day one, is any purport is just, you have it. It's just. That's why they find fault with him, because they don't have this. They don't have the Siddhanta in mind. For them, you have to stick to the Sanskrit rigorously. That's their concern. They have an academic concern. That's their career. That's their job as a Sanskritist or a grammarian, historian, And at home, they are a different person. So, okay, let's move on, unless you want to bring up other things.
I did just want to mention that in about 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, I understand. Do your things, and you have to, obviously, life is like that. Okay, so you get the shift. Sankhya is Gyan here. So what we discussed so far is Gyan, Atma Gyan, Sankhya, basically. And he is in 39 is moving him towards Buddhya Yukto, by intelligence. Karma Bandham, I'm going to show you a way so you can escape Karma Bandhana, which is basically Karma Yoga, Nishkam Karma Yoga. Plus, he wants to tell him that there's no difference, actually. It's just depending on where do you stand? Just like we discussed in 5.4, we will come to that, 5.4. Someone who sees difference between Sankhya Yoga and Bhakti Yoga is a fool, Krishna says in 5.4, because both ends means the same. Sankhya means what? Sankhya means to find the root of the universe. Okay, what is the origin of the universe? Everyone is so keen on that. What is the origin of the universe? Once you have found the origin by dint of Sankhya, and what is the answer? The answer is Purush Uttam, Vishnu. What do? You water that root with Bhakti. Bhakti is Shravanadi Jal. Compared to water, Bhakti is compared to water. You water with your love, with your heart, that root is Krishna, is Vishnu. So you can see 5.4, there's no difference between Sankhya and Bhakti. One brings the other. So, but here, 39, he wants to make him understand if you follow this Buddha yoga I'm going to teach you, you can escape. You can escape sin. And now Arjuna in stress is going to prick up because he wants to escape sin. 40. Anyone? No?
In this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution, and a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear.
Yeah. So you had an answer. It's quite obvious. Huh?
Yeah,
there's no
Krishna
loss.
never
Yes?
lost.
There's no loss. Yeah, because that's a good preaching angle. Oftentimes people are under the impression that I cannot go back down. Did you hear that from Christian mostly? Yes, sin is there, I agree. We pay for our sin, but we cannot go back down. If you are humans, you cannot go below. It's not true. But on the other hand, if you practice, then pratyavaya navidyate, you cannot diminish. You let's say you bloop, as we say, blooping, and you live like bloop, like a bubble. I used to that term blooping. 11%, you start off at 12%. Next time you come around the corner again. So that's quite straightforward. 41 is a very important verse.
41. Those who are on this path are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. O beloved child of the Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many-branched.
Yeah, so this verse is struck Srila Prabhupada way back in the 50s. Do you know the story behind it?
No.
Vignesh, you know?
Is it regarding the travel that he made, a journey from India to America?
That was way before America. That was, I would say, in the 50s. He was reading Gita. Not his Gita, but Gita of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And he got really struck by this purport, the purport of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur on this one. So I'm going to share it with you. Let me share my screen. I have it here. This is basically the verse that stirred Srila Prabhupada even into further action, further resolve to do his Guru Vani. That's a key moment in the life of Srila Prabhupada, that verse. Let me share. Okay, where is it? Right here. Okay. Okay, that's it. Can you see?
Yep.
Okay, so this is the verse. Can you imagine? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Okay, let me pull these photos here. Okay. You can read out Sorel if you want.
Of all kinds of intelligence, the best is intelligence focused on bhakti yoga. In bhakti yoga, one's intelligence becomes single-pointed or fixed in determination. One thinks the instructions of my spiritual master to worship the personality of Godhead by chanting, remembering, serving his feet, and so on are my only sadhana, my only sadhya, my only livelihood. I am capable of giving up these instructions either in the stage of practice or in the stage of perfection. They alone are my object of desire and my only responsibility. Besides them, I can desire no other responsibility, not even in my dreams. It is all the same to me whether I feel happy or unhappy, or whether my material existence is eradicated or not.
Yeah. So you can see the power of this Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. He wrote that in the 17th century.
Wow.
Can you imagine? He's a far-fetched visionary, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, 17th century. So just imagine how he sold out to his Guru Vani, Guru order. Even at the time of Pralaya, I will still stick to my Guru Vani. Even if I have to die, even if there is cosmic annihilation. And Prabhupada was so struck, he said, yes, exactly what I need to hear. That boosted even more is eagerness, you know. So you can see from the acharyas, from one to the next, they encourage each other. It's amazing. Prabhupada was struck like anything. When you read the Lilamrit, he mentions that in his 50s, he was reading that purport. So that's a very encouraging purport. And this is very true. As soon as, you know, Bahu Shakaya Nantasha, we can see for ourselves, you know, respective spiritual life. Bahu means many, Shaka, many, many branches. As soon as you become splayed, you have seen what it takes. You become diluted. Isn't it? You want to share some? We can always be interactive if you want to share. You know, you had some, unfortunately, at times we become splayed. We have too much on our plate, and we don't put Krishna consciousness necessarily on the prime priority, chanting or whatever it is, you know. And because of that, we become splayed. So that's a very good lesson for us. Vyavasyatmika buddhi should be one fixed. Okay. So you stop me if you want to discuss, huh? It's always there, possibility to.
Okay.
So it's not theory, it's practical. Gyan plus karma. Again, Gyan plus karma. It's an equation. A plus B. Gyan plus karma equals buddhi. Buddhi yoga. Buddhi. So it's not only, I know I'm not the body, but I act upon it. Because it's easy to say, oh, I understand, I'm not the body. But if we have understood, then we should change our lifestyle drastically. Otherwise, it's easy to say. Huh? Okay, 42, 43. This is the first time the Vedas are going to be mentioned.
40 to 43. Men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery verse of the Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation to heavenly planets, resultant good birth, power, and so forth. Being desirous of sense gratification and opulent life, they say that there is nothing more than this.
Yeah, so here, again, basically the essence of this section up to 46 or so, rise above karma kanda. Why? Because you should be knowing the ultimate goal of the Vedas. We'll find out in 15:15. Vedas cha sarver aham eva vedyo, Vedanta krit vedavideva chaham. But already so early in the Gita, Krishna is going to make it clear that the goal of the Vedas is not like so many karma kandis think. Even the Muslim is kind of like that. Oh yes, let me be a good fighter and I'll go to heaven and enjoy so many girls. And it's extremely low class type of goal. It's called Veda Vadarata. We discussed in the Shri Show. Remember that term? Veda Vadarata? We did Shri Show together, didn't we?
Yes.
Remember the Veda Vadarata? Prabhupada brings them in one of some purports in the Shri Show. I think it's 9. Veda Vadarata means the so-called, the pseudo followers of the Vedas. Avijajamrataha, the so-called practitioners, the so-called knowers of the Vedas. But if you scrap a little bit their intent, the intention is just to elevate themselves to heaven. Good birth, aristocracy, power, opulence, sense gratification. And then immediately it touched a little bit on that, and 44 to cut through the Maya. Immediately it says 44. This is a very important verse. Prabhupada quotes it very often. Bhogeshvaya prashaktanam tasya parituchitasam. What's the meaning?
It means in the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence, and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination for devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place.
Exactly. unless you are very, very advanced, like Pundarik Vijanidhi, remember, in Golila. Gadara Pandit, Mukunda Datta told him, Mukunda Datta is a classmate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how close he is. And Gadara Pandit, you know him, Panchtatwa. And Mukunda Datta told him, I know someone, he's extremely advanced. You should come and see him. And when they got there, you know the story of Ignatia, or Jacob perhaps, beautiful setting. He's living in utmost luxury. He's got ivory pieces of furniture, first class outfit. His clothes are totally magnificent. He's smoking some kind of, at least not smoking, but you know, betel nuts, spitting in the spittoons and all. He's looking himself in the mirror, being fanned. So Gadadhar Pandit is inside. He's saying, "What kind of devotee is this?" I mean, Bhagavad Gita, too much Bhog, too much Ishvarya. You know, how can he serve Krishna? He's extremely opulent. Who is he in Krishna Lila? Pundarik Vijanidhi in Golila. In Krishna Lila, who is he? Can you imagine? Vignesh? Is King Vrishabhanu. Who is King Vrishabhanu?
The father of Radharani.
Can you imagine? The father of Srimati Radharani. Then Mukund, he can foresee the mind, he can detect. He's such an advanced fellow. He can detect what's going on in the mind of Gadadhar Pandit. He's mistakenly tagging Pundarik differently, obviously, as some kind of a Vishayi sense enjoyer. Immediately, Mukunda starts to recite Aho Bakiyam, Stana Kalakutam, Jigam Sayapya Sadvi. Beautiful verse from Uddhav, third canto. How can we find someone more merciful than he? Krishna. He has taken the milk of a witch. She had put Calcut on her breast to kill him. Putana.
Yeah.
And he has given the position to that witch of a datri. Datri means she's a nurse in the spiritual world. Putana went to the spiritual world next to Yashodamata. Can you imagine? So Mukundana is reciting this verse. Gadadhar Pandit is rolling, breaking everything in the living room. Takes men to seize him, to stop him from breaking. He's having ecstasy for 5-6 hours in a row. So this is very rare. Most of the time, if you have too much Bhog, too much Ishvarya, you become a lewd, isn't it? If I put 5 million on your account, euros, Vignesh, you're going to be clear-headed. If you have 5-10 women in your home. So most of the people, practically everyone on this universe, you become bewildered. And then you lose the determination to serve Krishna. Rare exceptions, this Pundarik Vijanidhi. Very rare exception. Of course, it's Gadadhar Pandit himself. I mean, it's Vrishabhanu himself. And to atone for his mistake, Gadadhar Pandit, what did he do? He talked to Mahaprabhu about it. Mahaprabhu told him, it's not a good thing, my dear Gadadhar. And Gadadhar himself came up with a solution. Let me take initiation from him to atone for my mistake. And of course, Gadadhar Pandit is himself Srimati Radharani. So it's only normal that he takes shelter of his father, basically. It's a lila. But see, this is important verse. We can easily be bewildered. So we should always be we should know ourselves. How much we can handle in life. If it is over the top, we should not move into those waters. It's too dangerous. Some people can handle. I've seen devotees millionaire in dollars. I've seen. And they still remain Krishna conscious. So the quota we discussed, Ishvarasyam idam sarva yad kicham jagadam jagat. Bhagavad, what is the quota? It's all about quota. Okay, 46, that's the intent of the Vedas given now. Yes, 46.
All purposes served by a small well can at once be
Actually,
served.
45, sorry, excuse me.
45.
Yeah, I missed one.
The Vedas deal mainly with the subject of the three modes of material nature. O Arjun, become transcendental to these three modes, be free from all dualities and from all anxieties for gain and safety, and be established in the self.
Yeah, so there was a question on that. It seems to me that, if I play the devil's advocate here a little bit, I thought we were Vedic. We are Vedic culture. We are Vedic practitioners. So it looks like Lord Krishna himself is throwing the Vedas out the window. What's happening? Please explain.
Well, it seems that in this, Krishna is not rejecting the Vedas in whole, but he's rejecting the Karmakanda portion and instructing Arjun to go beyond that and to seek the purport of the Vedas.
Excellent. Excellent. Just like again, he will reiterate the same point in the 15th chapter when he explained the banyan tree, which is inverted, the upside down of banyan tree. What will he tell Arjun? Asanga shastrina shadvam shidva, sorry. And you have to cut this Asanga Shastra. And you have to cut this tree, this reflection of the tree. Don't linger in the tree. Don't be like a monkey hopping from one branch to the next. Karmakand, and then back down, and Shine Punya Machalokam Vishanti, 923, we know, once you have used up your meritorious acts that enable you to go up there, it's like a bank balance. I've got 5 million, 5 million, 10 million, then back down to zero, back down to earth, Marchalok, Mrityulok, Punya Bhumi. So it's not worth it, Arjun. It's not worth it. You should know the purpose behind it. And 46, all the purpose can be of a lake, can be, a small well, sorry, can be fulfilled by someone who knows the purpose behind it. If you know the purpose behind the Vedas, then there's no harm with the Vedas. But what is the purpose of the Vedas?
To know Krishna, to approach Krishna.
What does Bhagavatam say? Nigama kalpatalum garitam phalam shuka mukha dravita drava samyutam. This is the purpose. Nigama kalpatalam. Nigama, the Vedas, and the Srimad Bhagavatam is the desired. This is the mature fruit of the desired tree. Vedas is compared to a desired tree. It can fulfill all your desires. What is the mature fruit? Srimad Bhagavatam. Shuka mukha davita varasamyutam. It has been touched by the beak of Shukdev, parrot. It's been touched by the beak of Shukdev Goswami, the mouse, lotus mouse. It's become even more relishable. So the purpose of all these books, Gita, we're doing Bhakti Shastri, remember the purpose is towards Bhagavatam. Don't stop here. You get to Bhakti Shastri, okay, good. This is a springboard to jump to Bhagavatam. I'm gonna get the recognition for to teach back. I got Bhakti VB, Bhakti Vibhav, but I need they're going to give me a GBC here.
Prabhu, so Sorel's phone just died that she was using. But anyhow, we both have to go get.
Yeah, I understand. I hope you didn't catch the COVID.
Yeah, we hope so too. We're asymptomatic right now, but
yeah, don't worry. Even I've got plenty of I've been given so many remedies. Many of my friends, they got it and they know how to treat it, and it went, especially with devotees. You know, I'll give you so many tips I got from, I didn't get it, but some devotees got it, some non-devotees that I know got it. And if you know, if you nip it in the bud, it's not a big thing, especially you're so young. So
we'll let you know if we do end up needing any help. But thank you for class. Sorry again.
Yeah, Prabhu, no, I understand. Do your things. You know, it's life is like this.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, so
Krishna,
I'll put
thanks.
forward. I mean, I'll put up the on YouTube and the link.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds
All the
great.
best, Jacob.
Thank
Take
you.
care
Hare
of Sorel. Huh?
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna Jagat.
Okay, so face to face, Vignesh.
One-on-one.
So anyway, you can also speak because you know quite a lot, I know. 46. If you want to pinch in something, feel free to interrupt me.
I was just remembering I think that's some other verse from the Bhagavatam, as you talked about Bhagavatam. I think in Uddhav Gita, Krishna says, ki, no one but actually me understand the confidential purpose of the Vedic knowledge.
Yeah.
So I think even the Karma Kanda aspect, if you see the mantras on a superficial level, it may be on a, what we say, at a Karma Kand, maybe inspiring fruitive activities. But on esoteric aspect, it may, it ultimately has some other purpose. So even the Karma Kanda, apparently Karma Kanda mantras that we hear. So I think Krishna was referring to that in Bhagavatam, in Uddhav Gita.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so 46 we discussed. Basically, he wants us to go beyond. He wants to make sure Arjuna doesn't get stuck in the rituals and sacrifices mentioned in the Karma Kanda. He wants him to definitely weave his way towards the Siddhanta, Krishna, the best purpose. So, okay. Krishna mantra, what is the verse? Krishna mantra jap sada he mantra sa. This is the purpose. Mantra sa is Krishna mantra, basically. So the purpose of all these Vedic literatures, Nigama, is basically to surrender to Lord Krishna. And of course, I was putting forward in the homework that could be given, that could be the basic ground of having a discussion. We are so few of us, but if I were in the classroom, I would definitely bring it up. You know, the different practices between ISKCON and Hinduism in general. And basically, we can see they just minder into lesser pursuits. But it's like 326 is saying, we cannot disrupt the minds of those who are too attached to their fruits and to their practices. Rather, we should, dovetail, try to have them do a little something for Krishna. But in no way should we, in the name of their ignorance, in no way should we encourage them to inaction, which is worse even. But we can see even amongst different Gaudiya Vaishnavisms, Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, the Siddhant may, differ a little bit. That is why at the end of the Gita 1865, Lord Krishna, Prabhupada himself is quite forceful. He said, don't even turn towards other practices except Krishna. Even he goes, I don't know if you know that purpose, 1865, right? He says, not even, get involved into Sitaram and all these things. I mean, it's quite categorical. Huh? I think it's 65, it says that. We should not divert our attention to other forms of the Lord. The Lord has multi forms, Vishnu, Narayan, Ram, Varaha. But the devotee should concentrate his mind on the form that was present before Arjuna. So you can see, that's the modern mission. Prabhupada is extremely exclusive. And of course, for me, I would say, even more than Krishna is my Ishtadev is more Panch Tattva, Obviously, it's non-different anyway. After that, it's a matter of bhav. So yes, 47. 47 is quite lacked by the Hindus.
47, yeah.
Kamani eva dikarase mafare shuva kadachan makamafare tubu mate sangotsva kamani. Oftentimes, when I was in India, I spent 12 years. Oftentimes, I notice in the train, or they love this verse.
Actually, the reason is in India, there is a famous serial that used to come in 90s. There was famous serial in India, television serial in India, Mahabharat.
Yes.
So the starting song, you start with the same verse. Karmanye eva adhikaraste.
Okay.
So people actually may not have read Gita per se, but they have seen that particular serial a lot. So
Okay.
they
know this verse pretty well, huh?
That is only verse probably they must have heard it in the serial.
Yeah, they may not understand. And it is also, while traveling on the train, they may not understand fully, especially the second part. You put some light, it's quite dark here. So here, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that Arjuna is unfit to practice Atmagyan, we discussed. He's not fit also to practice Bhakti. From 40 to 45, it's more like Bhakti. But he's fit for Nishkarmya. That is why that verse is there. So it's quite a thorough verse because we are kind of, devotees have difficulty to understand the third line, Ma karmo phala eturbu. We shouldn't consider yourself to be the cause of the result of our activities. And that's quite subtle. Don't consider yourself to be the cause of the result of your activity. You want to discuss about that a little bit?
Yes, I think later, Krishna mentions there are various factors of which bring about the accomplishment of any action. So, it's not just our own endeavor that bears the result or bears the fruit. Ultimately, there is a super soul. What Krishna says later on, Deva. So if we have too much control, if we try to too much have control over the fruit, then it may disappoint us. So we just need to focus on our actions without striving for the fruits. We may set the goals, but we will not necessarily be too attached to the fruits. That may even distract from the very process that we follow to accomplish that particular goal.
Yeah. And of course, I was referring that in my homework. Srila Prabhupada is saying businessmen may have some hard time to swallow this point because I'm not supposed to enjoy the fruits, my dear friend, but what should I do with the profit? Should I throw it in the river? What would you tell him?
No, I think he can use the fruit. Only thing is we should not be attached to the fruit. If the intent of doing an action is to get the fruit, then I think that may be dangerous and it may even disappoint us badly, especially in today's times when things are very uncertain. So yeah, I think we just focus on the process and definitely the goal is clear, then fruits will come and we can not enjoy, but we can use that as an offering to Krishna.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We have to make sure the businessman turn towards Madhapanam. He at least partly portion of his fruit should be engaged in Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, kama bandhana. Right? What is that verse 27? That's for sure. Prabhupada was oftentimes he met big business magnates, and yes, I will help you, Srila Prabhupada. Go take his number, take his address. I will get back to you, Srila Prabhupada. I'll write down his address and phone. We'll call you. Oh, no, I'll get back to you. See, there's just lip service. At least give something. Otherwise, you're going to become stuck. So 48, that's basically Nishkarmya. Perform your duty equipoised, or Arjuna, abandoning all attachment to success or failure. Such equanimity is called yoga. So equipoise, no, without attachment, basically. That's Nishkam Kama Yoga. Giving up chakva, give up the attachment, sangam. And again, we can see he's driving at Buddhi Yoga, Nishkam Kama Yoga. So Arjuna is simply advised to act according to Krishna's direction, dictation. This is real yoga, actually. 49 is interesting because that's going to confuse Arjuna quite a bit in the third chapter. You want to read out?
Yeah. O Dhananjay, keep all abominable activities far distant by devotional service, and in that consciousness surrender unto the Lord. Those who want to enjoy the fruits of their work are misers.
Yeah. This expression, avaram karma, abominable activity, Arjuna will ask for further clarification in 3.1. And Prabhupada is quite exclusive in 49. He says, except for Krishna consciousness, everything else is abominable. So, Prabhupada this is one thing I liked from the beginning. When I was not a devotee, that's one thing that struck me so badly. Why is he so forceful, And that, in one sense, that attracted me a lot, because I was thinking, you cannot be so pushy and so unbending unless you know the truth. It's a very dangerous stand in life if you are that forceful in your comments, isn't it? So I was struck by this feature, and that added to the fact that I came to the conclusion he must be holding the absolute truth, this person, because
he had a sense of authority.
Yeah, and it's like, definitely. And I was thinking, how can he lie so blatantly? Then he must be holding the truth. He's unbending. Today I received in the same line of thought, I received a nice quote. Let me tell you, it comes to the same conclusion. All non-devotional concepts are simply attempts to justify different grades of impiety. It's well put. All non-devotional concepts are simply attempts to justify different grades of impiety. See, I like those crispy, clear-cut sentences because it sticks, So 49 will definitely bring out further confusion in the mind of Arjuna. We'll see to that in 3.1. This verse is to be remembered for that. 50, Yoga Karma Sukoshalam. So that's important. A man engaged in devotional service rids himself of both good and bad actions even in his life. Therefore, strive for yoga, which is the art of all work. Koshalam, you know because you're from India. Kushal. Kushal. I think there was a question on this. Auspicious. So Prabhupada gives, he gives a beautiful example. I think it's in New York in beginning 66. He says he was using a dictaphone or dictaphone, or what do you call it? Those machine. You dictate.
Dictaphone.
Dictaphone.
Yeah, dictaphone.
And it got damaged or something. And devotees were trying to repair it, but they didn't manage to do a good job. And one guy came along, in no time he repaired it. So Prabhupada says, see, this is Kushalam, expert. He knows the art of repairing. So in the same way, he jumped into that verse 50. He says, yes, we should be knowing the art to act. He gives this beautiful example. You work on the spiritual platform with your intelligence, Then Jahati is mentioned here. Jahati. It's right here, or perhaps another verse. Jahati. Jahati iha ube. Sukrita dushkrite. Is it here?
Yes, 2.50.
Yeah, 50, yeah. This is what it says, yeah. Exactly. Okay. So then 51 is continuation. Go ahead.
By this engaging in devotional service to the Lord, great sages or devotees free themselves from the result of work in the material world. In this way, they become free from the cycle of birth and death and attain the state beyond all miseries by going back to Godhead.
Yeah. So same story here. See, Prabhupada in bracket, he adds up by going back to Godhead. That's not even Sanskrit. But basically it leads to mukti. Again, academicians will find fault with 51. They will say, why did he put by going back to Godhead? They will, that is why Ridhar Maharaj has done that book, because he was trying to, stick to the Sanskrit. Yeah. But of course, he's such a devotee that in his purport, he has also bring Krishna consciousness to the forefront. But I just translated the book, so it's fresh in my mind, and I have it in French now. I'm trying to sell it around.
Even technically, the word anamayam is used, like without miseries. So in Vaikuntha, if you see, the technical meaning is same, free from all the miseries.
Exactly, without miseries.
Just using another word.
Yeah, exactly. Samashrita Shamaphalam, what is that verse? 10:14:8. Samashrita, and the verse is there.
Pada Pallavam, something like that.
How does it go? 10:14:8. No.
Samashrita ye Pada Pallavam, that was right.
Yeah.
Mahat Padam Punya Yasha Murareha.
Yes, exactly. Samashrita. Yeah, exactly. So Buddhi Yoga, and we are fully into the topic of Buddhi Yoga here. Buddha Yukta Hi. And basically that's the thrust of the whole Gita. He spoke so many things, Krishna, but basically his concern is to instruct him in ways of Buddhi Yoga. It's in and of itself is action in Krishna consciousness, which is the highest intelligence. Dadami Buddhi Yogam tam yena mamu payantite. We should come to that. Shitasasava kamani, and the verse is there, 18 something. Shitasasava kamani mayi sanyasya mat paraha. Krishna says, just depend upon me in all your activities. Buddhi Yogam upashritya. So, whatever you do, work always under my protection. This is the best course of action. Okay, so 52 is referring again to Kamakanda a little bit. When your intelligence has passed out of the dense forest of delusions, you should become indifferent to all that has been heard and all that is to be heard. So obviously here is just reminder, just like 42, 43, the flowery words of the Vedas, we should be indifferent. I don't think it's a drawback for ISKCON devotees. I haven't come many devotees who are afflicted by this aspect. Have you?
The Karmakanda aspect?
Yeah.
I don't think so, because not at least in a very traditional sense, what Krishna is mentioning, like the flowery language of the Vedas, because I think the very foundation of Krishna consciousness is very clear. The base is very strong, I feel. And that at least the philosophical aspect, no one will have any doubt or any struggle to cope with.
Yeah. And the good thing with being a Videshi, if I may say, is that we haven't been confronted in our early life, early childhood, and so to this possibility of Kamakandic portion of the Vedas. So, this celestial life, as described in Kamakandic section of the Vedas, is not so much brought forward in the West. Even if you're a Christian, they don't really preach like this. They preach, now we have to love God, do some things for your neighbors, help them out, feed the needy. So that's not definitely, at least for Videshi, it's not really a drawback or an obstacle, I would say. There are other obstacles, obviously, money, women, but this one is not really. What I like here is the quote of Madhavendra Puri in 52. And of course, only one quote is given here, but I found other quotes elsewhere. Is rejecting, because Madhavendra Puri at one point even stopped chanting Gayatri. He considered it's karma kandik. And there's a verse as given by Upajaya Brahman in Mathura. Once the Upajaya Brahmin was a disciple of Madhavendra Puri, saying, now that I can meditate on that boy who's crawling in the courtyard of Mother Yashoda, why should I even continue into those lesser pursuits,
Yeah.
This is the Brahmin in Mathura. He was a disciple of Madhavendra Puri Gosai. And Mahaprabhu took lunch at his place, the Upajaya Brahmin. So here Madhavendra Puri Gosai is, to hell with everything, basically. It's like very categorical,
Confusion is mentioned over here.
And it doesn't say to hell with everything, but it means like that. Yeah. I think it's straightforward though. Prabhupada is always hammering the same point home. Okay, so let's carry on. Go ahead.
53. When your mind is no longer disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, and when it remains fixed in the trance of self-realization, then you will have attained the divine consciousness.
Yeah. So Virakti, we're talking about Virakti is a must. In the second canto, this Krishna says, "Tap is my heart. Austerity is my heart." There's a verse like that. And basically, we just carry on our duties in Krishna consciousness because that's direct communion. So what do we want more? Even if we don't make it in one life because of tiny remnants, doesn't matter. We just 40, 240, we carry on. And of course, with the grace of Mahaprabhu, sometimes Mahaprabhu can burn some steps that were still on the way, but he may also help out, time of death. Yeah. So I think I had planned up to here. We can move on in one sense. We have 10 minutes left. What do you think? Yeah, I'll bring him here when I'm finished. I'm almost finished. No, he's not outside. He's in the castle. He's not going to play outside. Yeah. Yeah, because I took my boy to New Maripur. There were so many festivals, and he has made a good friends there. Yash Mayapur Chandra he's 12. My boy is 7, so it's a big gap, but still he's tagging along, So how is your life, Vignesh, in Bangalore?
It's going smooth. Right now, I'm just going for some higher studies. I'm just preparing for that.
Okay, so marketing, I believe,
Yeah.
So perhaps I should put on stop the recording. It doesn't have to be shared with others.